Which one do you want to start with? False starts or sacks?
False starts first.
All right. What Pat said, it was louder than he expected. Is that, was there something else happening? Or?
It was a loud environment, and credit to them and their fans. They turned it up. The biggest thing that kind of affected us was getting into third and long, right? And we allowed the crowd to really get behind it. We allowed them to amp up and really turn it to another level. Really, we got to perform better on first and second down and stay out of those long distances where, we're letting the crowd start to affect the game. So the biggest thing for us that we work on, going forward would be we're really going to ramp up the crowd noise at practice. And if we need to get into some silent cadence stuff, we've got that ready. We just didn't feel like it was the right time just yet. And they kind of settled down after the first quarter. But obviously disappointing to have, that amount of penalties and something we've got to clean up.
Looking at the sacks, as you mentioned, just what did it look like in real time, just on the field there, and then just a couple days to reflect, looking at the film? What would you make of that?
Yeah, obviously real time. You get disappointed and you kind of get down a little bit, but kind of rewinding a bit from that is what's causing that. And again, it kind of trickles back to first down, right? And you got to have success on first down. You got to have success on second down so that you can stay on schedule. So I think it was something like 90% of our third downs were third and 5+, right? And that's allowing the defense to now play their, random fronts and put their ears back and go and, play with confusion. So, for us, it's performing better on first down and second down. Obviously, penalties, like we talked about earlier, that's a big part of it, right? So that we can stay on schedule and we're not starting the drive first and 15, second and 15, right? So, putting our guys in a better position on first and second down will help us with that for sure.
The penalties are a big thing from Kendall, but how technically has he looked, making that leap up from 5 level to Power 5?
He's got such a high level of athletic ability. Like it really is insane watching that kid move around. We just got to control his technique a little bit. Like he's so athletic and so twitchy that sometimes he plays out of position. Sometimes he plays on an edge. Sometimes he'll underkick. Sometimes he'll overkick because he's so fast getting to where he needs to get to that sometimes it's too far or too short. So finding a way to kind of throttle that a little bit and get him to more play within the framework of being an offensive lineman has been kind of the challenge that he's had to address here over these last couple of weeks that he's been starting.
Just curious, looking at the 2 deep, with Jeff Percy still working his way back, who is behind Stanley right now that you have at left tackle?
Yeah, Giovanni Cooley will be our backup tackle at that spot right now. So he's a kid from up north. And he's kind of fits that same mold a little bit as Kendall. He's a really athletic guy and kind of fits the mold for what we're looking for at tackles. He's just young, right? He's a freshman, so he's got a little bit of growing to do from a technique standpoint, but he's showing all the promise that you would want in a young tackle.
How does the same question about the center with keeping that in the mix there? How does your depth chart kind of shake that line?
Usually Coretta would be our backup center. So he'd move over from left guard and we would move, Isaiah or Jackson up to guard at that point. So Coretta will be our backup center. And then behind that, we've been repping Isaiah Montgomery as kind of that, emergency center, or if we get ahead, being that 2 center to come in there and close the game out.
How would you evaluate Coretta's place as jump in there as a starter?
I think that he's probably one of the most dependable guys as far as being where he needs to be. Like he's not going to bust. I mean, we track mental errors every week and physical errors and all this stuff, and his mental errors are like 1 over 2 games, right? Like he's really locked into the game plan. He's locked into what we're doing. We got to get his pads down a little bit and fire off the ball a little bit more. But he kind of is that same young puppy a little bit, and he's got a. He's been asked to do a lot here recently over these last couple games, and will be asked to do a lot over the course of the next few. So from an assignment standpoint, I love where he's at. From a technique standpoint, we can clean it up a little bit, but he's progressing nicely.
You obviously had the 7 sacks, but if you compare that game to, say, the Florida State game, in terms of pressure, not just looking at sacks, but in terms of how much the quarterback was under pressure, was it similar between those 2 games? And you just more turned into sacks in Syracuse?
Yeah, no, I think that, Syracuse was a bit of an outlier as far as, pressures onto the quarterback. I think we didn't do a great job on third and long is kind of where we kind of fell apart. If you look at just first and second down, I think we were efficient there. But when we got into third down, I think we, encountered some of their, crazy twists and crazy blitzes and crazy fronts. And just, we didn't handle those particularly well as we have in the past. And, obviously, like we talked about earlier, staying on schedule and getting rid of the penalties will help us with that.
Were they doing more, like you talked about twists and stunts, and were they doing more of that, or just trying to set as many numbers at you?
They were trying to overload our protection, so they would, line up, basically bring 4 or 5 guys to a side and drop all one side out of it and try to overload us. I'd say we numbered things up pretty decent. We just didn't win all of our blocks, right? And that's kind of what a lot of teams will sometimes try to do, is get one-on-one matchups. And, you got to win those one-on-one matchups. And unfortunately on Saturday, we didn't win them as many times as we wanted to.
How would you assess how Ryan Baer has done so far at right tackle?
Phenomenal. He's dropped, he might get mad at me if I called him fat last year, but he's dropped like 10 pounds, 20 pounds since last year, somewhere near 10, 15, 20, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm not sure exactly what he weighs right now, but he's dropped weight, and his athleticism has just gone through the roof, because towards the end of last year, we were kind of sluggish a little bit, and then he realized that, and he was like, okay, I'm going to cut this weight, and he's been a different guy this year. Like, he is absolutely one of our anchors out there, and a guy that we count on to hold that spot down. And, being able to, last year he had to go over to left and then play right, and he had to go back and forth and all that. And being able to lock him in there at that right tackle has been huge for him.
Last year you guys basically had one injury that seemed like it kind of derailed the whole operation up front. Like you were just talking about with Ryan moving back and all of that. Do you feel like, and obviously that was a focus in the offseason, to be better prepared for when injuries come up, do you feel like you've been able to absorb it better this year?
Yeah, and I think that might have been what you and I talked about before the season was, what kind of position are we going to be in if we lose a guy? And we said, well, we've addressed that with recruiting more tackles, recruiting Kendall, and, getting Gio ready to go. And I think that's allowed us to kind of weather this little bit of a storm right here and be able to still be able to function at a high level. So I think we've done a good job in the recruiting trail of beefing that room up a little bit and preparing for any type of situation like this that may happen.
It seems like this season on the whole, the split has been heavier towards the pass than the run, but where do you feel the run blocking has been at so far this season?
Well, I mean, as an offensive line coach, I always want more. I want more and more and more. I think there's a little bit of peaks and valleys that we're operating in right now. Like there's big high highs, big explosive runs, and then there's the negative runs that we want to get rid of. And to me, there's 2 real things that stand out to me. One is we got to quit getting penalties on explosive runs. Like you look at Saturday was a great example. We had a 60-yard run called back, right? And then throughout the last couple of games, we've had 4 or 5 big runs, 20, 30, 40-yard runs called back because of penalties. So, we got to cure ourselves of the penalties, right? And then we got to cure ourselves of, getting into these games like Saturday where we get the negative yard rushes, right? Like that's something through the last few games before this, you look at, how many negative yard rushes we have, rush where we're getting tackled in the backfield. And it's, a couple, right? And then all of a sudden this game, it spikes up, right? And that's, those are the peaks and valleys that we've got to avoid. And, they're what come with, injuries and getting different guys up there playing different spots. And those are, as they settle in, those things will cure themselves.
When you talk about curing penalties, Linden, I think, is one of the more penalized guys on the team. I mean, is that a guy where you have to even say anything to him besides, hey, clean it up or whip it up to things?
He's got a lot of emotion, right? And obviously this will be an emotional game for him this week, and we got to find a way to keep him, keep the lid on it a little bit. But, there's a part as an offensive lineman where you're like, I want to see that kind of, that a little bit of unhingedness as an offensive lineman, but you got to control it, right? It can't be after the whistle. It can't be after the play. And that's what we're working with him is understanding here's the limit. Let's take it all the way up to the limit, but let's not take a step past that limit, right? And I don't need to, talk to him about that. He understands that, right? And he gets on the sideline and he's like, oh, it's my bad, guys. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna be better on that. But he knows he's a bit of an extreme player, and he knows that he's got to reel that in a little bit after the whistle.
What are you guys expecting from NC State?
They'll probably be the best group overall that we face. They've got 2 really good defensive ends, number 8 and number 54. They're big, powerful football players inside. They're good at stopping the run. So, it's going to be a challenge, as far as being able to consistently stay on schedule, being able to consistently, move the ball, being able to consistently protect and all that. Our guys are definitely, they're feeling like I said earlier, Cooper's going to be a big game for him because he played there. So he's kind of trying to get him going. He's trying to rally the troops and trying to make sure that we've got a lot of energy going into this game. But they're a talented unit.
I don't know, do you feel like you're hitting sort of max capacity on guys being out and stretching the depth as far as you can?
No, we're everybody in the country is banged up right now. We're mid-season and everybody's grinding, and it's next man up everywhere, and the people that can do that best are the ones who win games. And so I don't think we're probably any different than anybody else.
How important is Braylon been to kind of keep the linebacking core together, I guess?
Braylon's in the middle there. He's telling everybody what to do. So he's certainly a solid piece in there, and he's certainly around the ball a lot. So he's done a tremendous job. Really, really thankful for his progress, and he's become quite a leader in there.
What have you seen from Nick Lappy just really over the course of his career that has made him ready for a moment like Saturday where he's kind of stepping through?
Well, Nick has prepared his whole life. I mean, he's been here for 5 years and has worked for those moments, and so it's not a shock at all. Like I said, we coach these guys, whether they're the first team or the second team, as if they're the starter, and they prepare that way. And so when his opportunity happened, he did a great job, and I expected nothing less.
You guys almost entirely took away the run against Syracuse last weekend. That wasn't the first game that you managed a performance like that. Just what has gone right, or what's allowed your guys to have several of these games now where you're pretty much making opposing offenses one-dimensional?
Well, that's what we do. I mean, if you look at our number one goal, it's stop the run. That's not been this year. That's been the last 8 years. I don't know how many times you guys could tell me better that we've been in the top 10 in rushing defense. If we're not, we're pretty pissed off about it. So that's what we do. And we're gonna do everything we can to stop the run. We're gonna overload the run, and we just executed the game plan, quite frankly.
3 interceptions, all from the secondary against Syracuse. Picks have been kind of hard to come by for the corners, for the safeties. Was it relieving? Just how nice was it to see those guys step?
Yeah, it was good to catch the ball. I mean, we've had our hands around it, but we got to catch it. I think also the linebackers get a lot of credit. Some of those were pressures, and the quarterback threw it a little high. And then there were a couple pass breakups. That one, Taman Lyman tipped it, and we caught it. So, sometimes it's the luck of the way the ball bounces, but, you got to cause those things to happen, and I think that's what happened.
How do you think Ghost has done transitioning from D tackle to D end?
Well, Ghost is just a football player, so he understands. He's a smart football player. He understands defense. He would be a guy who would be able to probably draw probably all 11 guys. I think I would put him in the Kalijah Cansey category of being able to draw what the DBs do even and have a feel for it. So doesn't surprise me that he's making plays, and he makes some mistakes out there, but he does it full speed, and that's the key to life.
What have you made of the performance from your freshman Sean Lee at corner so far?
Sean Lee is a tough son of a gun. He's a playmaker. Again, there's a young guy who understands defense. Shoot, what do you have, 115 snaps in the West Virginia game and would refuse to come out. So what has happened since doesn't surprise me now. He's proven that he's a playmaker, he's trustworthy, and he'll tackle you. So nothing negative in that. He's a good football player. And I went out to his high school over the bye week, and I was in that area recruiting, and nobody out there is surprised. So, that's who he was in high school, and so it doesn't surprise me a lick.
How do you go about the rotation there at corner with Lyon healthy, Battle healthy, Harrison when he's healthy, now Lee playing, obviously
Sure.
at the level he is?
Well, nobody's 100% healthy at this point in the season. Everybody's got bruises and nicks and all that. So we try to rotate those guys as much as we can and try to keep them all fresh. And they also have to play on a lot of special teams. So, you might get 30, 40 snaps on defense, but you're not going to get maybe 15, 20 more. So they're all getting a lot of rotational reps. So we're just trying to keep them fresh as we can.
The ACC's leading rushers coming to town. Hollywood Smothers, a guy who's averaging 6+ yards a carry. Just what stuck out about him so far on film, and what kind of challenges do you feel like he's going to present your defense?
Boy, he can run. He's got great vision, great quickness, great change of direction. It's going to be a challenge. He's a tremendous back.
He's also a real pass catching threat. What does that do to your defensive line, your front seven, when you have a threat like that out of the backfield?
We still got to rush the passer because he can run the ball too. So, but it's a bigger challenge for everybody because you got to tackle him in space, not just within the box. So, yeah, he's probably one of the best players in the league, in my opinion.
Both of your starting safeties have missed time at various points. How big or how well has Kabir Baines Marquez played for you, filling in for those guys?
Yeah, Baines is, when we watched Baines at his previous school, he did everything he's doing now. And so I'm not totally surprised, quite frankly, but he has certainly come in and been everything we expected and more. And he's also been a leader as an older guy, coming in for one season. He's done a tremendous job.
How does your job change when Rashid and Kyle aren't standing next to you? I'm sure it's familiar with those two guys, but a little different than that.
It's really not that different. We got ball players behind them. You know what I'm saying? I got full trust in everybody behind them and all of our depth. Each guy that steps up each week is going to make a play, and I trust 150% in that.
Do you find that you maybe need to be a little bit more vocal with guys who don't have as much experience and you got to move in the right direction sometimes?
No, not really. We teach our guys the defense to the in and outs. You know what I'm saying? So I trust that they know what they're going to do. All the coaches trust that they know what they're going to do. So when we practice and when we're in the meetings, everything's full attention. We don't got guys slacking off and stuff like that. So when them guys go in there, they don't need my help. You know what I'm saying? They know exactly what they got to do, what they're looking at, and things like that.
Breland, just how impressed were you with Nick Lappy, Cam Lindsey? Both those guys come in against Syracuse, tied for the team leading tackles, a couple tackles for loss. I think Lappy had a sack. Lindsey had a nice stop on a 2-point conversion. Just what did you think of how those guys stepped up?
I think they stepped up incredibly. They did their job at 150%, and then they excelled at what they did. Like you said, they were going out there and making plays, just doing what we practice every day. You know what I'm saying? Those guys, those are ball players, and you're going to keep seeing that from here on out. You know what I'm saying? This is just their stepping stone. It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger for them.
How do you think the defense has improved over these past few weeks? Obviously, you guys are on a little bit of a winning streak, but how do you think the defense has solidified itself over that time?
I think we figured out who we truly are over these last couple games, and I think we're taking away those little details that have been leading to some big plays. You know what I'm saying? I think that, like I said earlier with his question, I think that everybody's been dialed in the meetings, been dialed in our practice, so it takes away all those details that we were missing so that we could take away those big run plays, take away those big pass plays and stuff like that. So everybody being dialed in has helped us out a lot.
Coach Marcuzzi over the past 2 weeks has talked about some of the maybe trash talk, disrespect that you guys have been receiving the O-line 2 weeks ago, this past week the D-line. Do you feel like maybe defensively you guys are still being disrespected even though you have a top 5 run defense specifically?
I mean sometimes, but we try not to get into that stuff. You know what I mean? Obviously we know it's said, but that's got to be in through one year out the other. You know what I'm saying? We're here to play football. You know what I'm saying? We're not here to talk to nobody. We're not here to listen to nobody's disrespect because, as a football player and as a team, that's something you're going to get no matter how good you are or no matter how bad you are. You know what I'm saying? You're always going to get that. So we just gotta keep our head where we're at and keep going forward with it.
I think like 4 out of the last 5 games, you maybe played all but about 5 snaps or so. How have you had to, I guess, kind of like maintain your body throughout the week? They had to pay extra attention, spend extra time with the trainers just because you're playing as much as you are right now?
Not really. I just do my same routine every week. You know what I'm saying? I try to keep it in a routine so that I can keep on my same schedule so that I can get what I need to do done. You know what I'm saying? If one week I need a little bit more, then I'll do a little bit more. But I'll try to keep the same routine no matter how many reps I'm playing, just so that I know that I'm doing what I have to do and, studying and all that stuff. So.
Was it at all a shock to the body, I guess, when you started playing that many reps? How did it feel for the first time, West Virginia or Louisville when you got there for 75, 85 snaps?
It's not really that new to me, especially playing single A ball in high school. You know what I'm saying? I played special teams, offense, defense. I never left the field. So that's something I'm used to, but also, whatever the team needs, I'm going to put it out there. You know what I'm saying? If they need me to play every position of every phase of the ball, then that's what I'm gonna do. And if my body, it's gonna have to, go with it. My dad always said when I was younger, your body gotta be a machine. You know what I'm saying? No matter how bad it's hurting, no matter how tired you feel, you know what I'm saying? You just gotta keep chugging, keep going away, because at the end of the day, you gotta do what you gotta do for your team.
Does adrenaline take over at a certain point?
Oh yeah, nah, for sure. For sure, adrenaline will take you a long way. It keeps you going. That's why I love this game. You know what I'm saying? Adrenaline's there every play. So
It was curious, the Florida State game, you get down to the end of the third quarter, they're running the ball, they're kind of like, looks like maybe they were finally starting to like wear you guys down a little bit, and then obviously you get the big play right at the beginning of the fourth quarter with the fumble. What was, I know it was a couple weeks ago, but what do you remember about, did it feel like momentum was slipping away? What did you guys do, and what was kind of the talk between the third and fourth quarter to be able to make the big play and take it back?
That's us being out of character. You know what I'm saying? That's not the defense that we train every day. You know what I'm saying? We had to get in a group and like really look at each other and say like, we got to step up. We want to win a game like this. We got to step up. There can't be no plays taken off. You know what I'm saying? So we just all looked at each other, said everybody do their 111th, do your job, and we gonna get out of this. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna excel. Just beat the man in front of you.
In a situation like that, are you the voice that's saying that, or who's the voice that's kind of getting that message out?
The whole defense is the voice. You know what I'm saying? We got kind of an older group. You know what I'm saying? So everybody has seen what it is to play in games like that. Everybody has seen us get gashed a couple times and come back and do what we got to do. So everybody knew what they had to do. Everybody talked to one another. You know what I'm saying? The D-line talked to each other. Linebackers talked to each other. Safeties talked to each other. You know what I'm saying? Just to get each other going. You know what I'm saying? And then like sometimes I'll step in and I'll tell Isaiah Neal. I'll be like, come on, bro, get the D-line going. You know what I'm saying? He'll step up and get him going. I'll tell Javon McIntyre, come on, get him going. You know what I'm saying? So everybody on the defense, that whole 11 that's on the field at the time, everybody is a leader out there. You know what I'm saying? Say what they got to say and do what they got to do.